live from Run Your Mouth World Headquarters.
First up, what Bob Mendez teaches us about better spots to hide your money. I keep it in my butt. Next, why the Secret Service is afraid of slopes.
Hey, guys, it's quite a slope. I don't know if we should be up here.
And will they end their DEI practices of hiring women with fears of angles? Next, we interview the collectors looking to find pieces of Trump's ear. Trump coins, get your Trump coins! And the FBI details being able to break into the shooter's phone to delete receipts. It's part of a long-standing FBI practice not to comment on ongoing investigations, and we definitely didn't speak to this guy before.
It's your daily dose of misinformation, pulled from a lightly hemorrhoided asshole. It's today's Run Your Mouth!
What's up, everybody? Welcome back. It's the Run Your Mouth podcast, a special seated edition because, my legs work. I promise you. I'm back. I'm pacing around. Still got a little bit of a limp. It's a limp and a pace at the same time, but, I'm moving around fine. My mother told me as a kid, don't take the cords from the studio. That's what she used to say. She used to say, you're not even going to need that cord while you're out there doing your comedy shows. I know you're going to take that cord, you're going to think you're going to need that cord, but you're just going to lose that cord, and then you're going to want to come back here. You're going to want to do your thing where you pace around like a maniac and pretend like you got more energy than you actually do. You're a 50-year-old man. You don't need to be pacing around like that. You could sit in a chair. Everyone else sits in a chair when they podcast. Why can't you sit in a chair and podcast like everybody else? But you're going to need that cord, so don't take it with you. So listen, hopefully by the next episode we refine the longer cord, so I don't have to sit down. I don't like sitting down. I'm not a sit down kind of person. I like to motion creates emotion. I like to it helps me filter all the thoughts. They come quickly, and as long as I can pace back and forth, I can articulate them. Also, breaking news. Apparently, Elon Musk wants more of my money. He doesn't have enough money. He's got to send money over to Trump. He's got to send rockets into space for things that are never going to work. He needs to... all the things that he's been lying about to prop up his stock options aren't coming to fruition. People are starting to realize that the cars aren't going to drive themselves and that the Cybertruck is just an ugly hunk of garbage. Looks like someone... I don't know. It almost looks like if you stole some fake prop giant alligator thing that was on wheels, the way it just kind of creeps around corners, like some movie prop where they used to put Godzilla on wheels, and the way that thing turns around corners. Because apparently we're not live on Twitter anymore. Not only can I not pace around, I was all excited. I was going to get into, I can't be spending time on the road like this. I need to be home in my studio where I can comfortably pace around, have a working green screen. I need to be in my studio environment in order to podcast in the way I like to run my mouth. And now you got Twitter taking me down. What's going to happen if YouTube strikes us for the record? It's all right, guys. It's $8 a month. I'll start paying for Twitter Premium. Fine. Elon, you win. You can have my money. I didn't care about the check mark. I didn't care about getting the checks from the advertisers. But now that I can't stream there, you can have my $8 too. StreamYard can keep having its $50. Spotify can have its $12. Man, it's starting to get expensive to put out your content for the people. But luckily, we got sponsors like YoKratom.com. So honestly, I'm just being a whiny Jew. As long as we got the big Kratom lobby back in this program, we can afford the $8 for Twitter. But I'm missing all you people. Usually I get to look at the little eye thing, and it's 200 people are listening to me. And I'm like, you have good thoughts. You should keep yelling them. There's a full 200 people right now live listening to your shenanigans. So don't care about the couple rave boys in the hallway who are pumping their music, wondering why they have to listen to the backdrop of my shenanigans. Mr. Musk, you can have my money. After the show... hopefully, before the next episode, I remember to buy the longer cord so I can walk around, and we'll pay Elon Musk his pittances so that we can, we can be on Twitter as well. Let's pull this guy out of my mouth. Guys, I'm a little annoyed right now. I've spent all day getting ready for the episode. You find out I feel like I'm in school. I'm stuck in my chair. Yes, Mr. Smith, I'll nod at you. I don't... All right, anyways, I don't have to nervously laugh. I've podcasted before. I can do this seated. It's not that big of a deal. Guys, this weekend, we've got more porches coming at you. We've got Philadelphia on Friday. That's going to be at a brewery. I got Chris Warren, young comic from Connecticut that I've met. Recently became a Jew. He just gave a little bit of his penis to the Lord. So come hang out. We got Chris Warren, Adam Nutter. That other guy is really funny. Who's got a great voice, but I can't remember his name. I apologize. And then I got some Brewston Mills, West Virginia. I don't know where the hell that is, but I'll be stopping by there. I'll be outside Cleveland, and then I will be making a long drive home once again. Let me tell you, I knew coming into this last run of Porch Tour that my Monday was gonna suck. But man, I woke up. Oh my God! Firstly, I don't know that I should share this story. I feel like, some people who come out to Porch Tour, they can vouch. I'm more normal in person. I'm calm. I'm polite. I shake hands. It's a bit of a scramble before the show, getting everything set up, and then I tell my jokes, and then I have a beer, and I'm a calm person. I'm a normal person. But I had a bad PTSD serial killer moment. I do wake up sometimes a little disoriented as to where I am, particularly with the amount that I travel. And Mike Eden, he's a funny comic from Austin. If you guys are out in the Austin area, or you can find him on the Twitters, we had a good time. He was driving us around. He put in his Porch Tour service on the Austin run. Drove all the way up to Dallas and back in the same evening. We made a double Buc-ee's run, and I'm kind of over Buc-ee's. It's a nice place to take a shit. It's a fun place to walk around. If you go in the middle of the day, it's wildly chaotic. And I've had a lifelong dream of not going to Buc-ee's on the way to a gig, but actually stopping at a Buc-ee's on the way back from a gig when I was good, hammered, and high, and did not care about the repercussions of eating turkey sandwiches with and their baked goods. And I'll just say it, the Buc-ee's baked goods are mediocre. There's gas stations in New York City with better baked goods. Their snacks are fun. The big old bag of Buc-ee snacks is fun, like oversized Pop-Tarts that they drenched in caramel. They're fun, but it's a little too indulgent. Their seltzer options are subpar at best. Sure, there's a beer selection. It's fun. They got big walls of candy or otherwise, and they pull a nice Jew trick that when you pull up to the parking lot, they tell you that they've got ice bags practically for free, which gets you excited. You're like, man, this place has good pricing. But then you see that they pay their employees very well, and you're like, shit, this is going to be expensive. So they pull both tricks on you at the same time, where your first trick is, I bet this place has really good prices, but then you're like, shit, they're not hiring the Mexicans that I want getting started on this bagel operation. And they're clean, they're chaotic during the daytime, you can get gas, they're convenient, and they're fun. But I'm just labeling Buc-ee's as not spectacular. Maybe everyone from Texas who's stopped there more than twice already knew this. And listen, the mascot's fun, and I'm sure the next time I'm in a car out in Texas, I'm going to go, hey, you got to stop at the Buc-ee's. But what I heard from the real Texans is at the end of the day, that's a gas station sandwich, and my stomach will attest to that. And to state further, their pastries are subpar. I mean, maybe I didn't delve into exotic enough pastries while I was there, but the couple cookies that I ate they weren't excellent. Like, someone fed me and by fed me, it's not like I sat down like a king and someone with grapes. It wasn't like that. What I mean is somebody put them out in their kitchen, and I was like, well, now I have to eat those because that's the way my brain works. I just got off stage. You got fresh cookies. Someone had from Publix. I think it was Publix. Might have been one of the other just grocery stores, but it was I don't even want to talk about that cookie. If I was standing, it would just flow. It would just flow, and I'd be able to tell you about the grandeur of the cookie I ate. But sadly, I didn't listen to my mother, who told me not to take the cords because you don't need them, and you're just going to lose them. I should have listened. I have a nice mom. Sometimes she came through with good advice as a kid. All right, anyways, Porch Tour, right, Philly, outside of Ohio. This was an interesting run because I experimented with just staying out. And from a comedy perspective, I prefer it because, we are all over the place. I apologize. This one's on me. It's the first one back in the studio. Let me pull a mulligan as I fumble through this and I can't pace around like an idiot. Right, so I did have this psychopath moment where we got back to Austin late at night. Matt hooked us up. Oh my God, we had an early afternoon porch tour, and he put out a spread of Whistle Pig 12-year aged different rye whiskeys. And, usually I try not to get too hammered before shows, but when you put out a spread of delicious whiskeys and the option to taste them and the pretzels that pair with them, yeah, I'm getting after that. And so we were boozing early in the afternoon. We came back to Austin, and I was like, I'm ready for bed. But Mike Eden, he wanted to do more comedy. He wanted to go to the Creek and the Cave. Lo and behold, we run into BK Chris, and now you're drinking at a bar. So after, the week's on the road, it's the last night in Austin, we're drinking. I don't get to this guy's house till 1 in the morning to pass out on his couch, to wake up at 5:30 in the morning, to take a plane ride back, to transfer to another plane, to then get into Myrtle Beach, say hello to a couple of folks, and then do 12 hours of driving. So I'm sleeping on Mike Eden's couch. I got all of 4 hours to go to bed. And in the middle of the night, he wakes up to go to the bathroom in his own apartment. That's a reasonable activity. And I wake up on his couch, and I, for some reason, think I'm in my home and that someone's breaking into my home. And so I have a total PTSD moment where I start yelling, "Who the fuck is that? What are you doing?" And he's like, "It's Mike." I'm like, "Who the fuck is Mike?" And I was a lot angrier and a lot more aggressive and maybe looking for items that I could pick up to stab him with. And he's like, "The guy whose house you're staying at?" And I'm like, "All right, that's my bad. I apologize. That's on me." And but seriously, normal person, really, don't be afraid. Don't be afraid when you let me come porch tour at your house. And then that ride home sucked. I basically reversed the entire ride that we did. I found porch tour science is you want to do up until 5 hours to the next city. And I like the lifestyle. You do your porch, you go back to the hotel, you eat too much food, you wake up the next morning, you regret eating too much food. You got to pick. You got to start alternating days. It's one day you exercise, the next day you read the newspaper, and then you're off. You go do your porch tour, and you do that, and you cycle through that. From a comedy perspective, I would like to just stay on the road indefinitely. I did learn from a podcasting and staying on top of the news perspective. I think the continuous run porch tours are probably not that viable until we start making enough money that I can stay in nice Airbnbs, maybe have other people do some of the driving so that I can get a little bit more of the reading done that I have to do to stay on top of, the news at the level I like to stay on top of the news at. But anyways, guys, it was a blast being out there. Maybe next year we'll actually level up to the level that we can be at an RV and just do a continuous porch tour. But I think porch tour is going to be long weekends so that we can be in the studio, not have the proper cords, have to sit down and be annoyed about that. Wherever you go, if you're ADD, you're going to forget things. You're gonna have these moments. All right, listen, it's enough. I gotta sit down. It's not that big of a deal. You guys sit down in an office all day, and you don't make that big of a deal out of it. You just sit there, and you do work, and it's not that big of a deal. I mean, how much of a complaint do I have to have about the fact that I gotta work for an hour from a seated position? That's psychopath shit to be concerned about the fact that you have to sit down. It's not that big of a deal. I have enough money that I could afford a more comfortable chair. This is also on me. I'm currently annoyed by this chair that forces me to sit at this shitty. I could afford a better chair. It was my decision to have this shitty chair. Edward Snowman talking about holding in farts is hard work, and we've all been there. Certain jobs have different levels of fart etiquette. It mostly revolves around what kind of ladies you have on your team. If they're young and attractive, you want to impress them, or whether or not they're some old hag and you don't mind them having to sniff your farts, because, they're probably with some old guy at home and they might not even notice your farts at that point. Or sometimes you're on a sales team, it's all dudes, and you could literally make a trucker fist noise and just let them rip into the ether. Sometimes post-lunch, people, they're okay with the farts. Every work environment has a different fart etiquette, and you got to figure out at your job what that fart etiquette is. And I don't miss those days, because I do remember working jobs where, you couldn't just let them rip. And so at least, I might be seated in a chair, but if I needed to let one rip and I wanted to trust that it wasn't, which, by the way, I might write a book called Sharts in the Wild, a guide to predicting wet or dry farts, because I've been hearing from fans. Fans like to write in and say, hey, I'd like for you to do an advice segment, and I frequently shart in the wild, and maybe you could give me information about how to. I haven't sharted in years, guys. I got a board on my wall that says we're 4 years since a shit in the pants incident. It might be longer than that. Why are adults shitting their pants? Just go to the bathroom frequently and complain that you have to do so. Anyways, we're trying to talk about Porch Tour, continuous runs. Guys, it's been a good time. It's been wild. West Coast people, you keep hitting me up. I'd like to line up the West Coast, but the logistics at the moment are I still don't have enough material to do so, and I can't afford to stack the show with more than one opener. But listen, it's all going to come together. I'm gonna sit in a chair. I'm going to learn my lesson for having taken chords with me on the road. And we got more Porch Tour coming up, so, come buy a ticket. These have been an absolute blast. Maybe in the future, I'll start getting Porch Tour testimonials of the people who can tell you about how they came out to Porch Tour and it changed their lives. And then more of you guys will realize you don't want to miss out on the Porch Tour experience. You know what? I'll get you guys even know more of the shows. Like I said, Philly, West Virginia, and outside of Ohio this weekend. And then I think I've got the Memphis and Bon Aqua, Tennessee run. Then I've got the LA run with Brian McWilliams. We've got 3 dates out in California. And then more Porch Tour coming at you. All right, let's take a couple comments, and then we can get into the news. C-Step. There's a guy at work that hates shitting with other people in there, but has to run by my office. I always save my shits for that guy for a solid 2 months now. You mean you wait till the guy who's a shy shitter to have to go take a shit just to make him uncomfortable? That's something else. That's a particular level of evil. And I'm not saying it's not funny, but it's not nice. I'll tell you that. I listen. I think we're all the same way. Sometimes you got no choice but to make use of the facilities that are available, and so you make do. But no one prefers it. And I would rather live in a world where we invest in more resources into better bathrooms. I feel like we all try and ignore the fact that we're going to need bathrooms and we'd like to be comfortable in those bathrooms. And I think it's maybe a problem with the free markets, or maybe Guy Swan or someone else can explain to us what the Fed did to distort our reality, that we can't have better bathroom access. And I used to have a bit about this in my comedy act. I'd like to go find that footage because I stopped doing it. And I thought that it was a personal favorite bit. The audience didn't always like it. That's why I stopped doing it. It was only working about 50% of the time. I think I have one tape of it, which is from 2 years in Chicago, that I may or may not put out. Anyways, we're getting very distracted. This is what happens when I can't pace around. Oh yeah, no, that was that guy's fault, because I said I was going to take comments, and he decided to tell us about his diabolical shit habits. I got questions. I've got more questions for you. You've always got a shit chamber that you're sitting uncomfortably all day with a shit chamber just to wait for this guy to go use the bathroom so that you could ruin his time in there? Or do you just go in there with like a sound machine and pretend like you're shitting? Or do you sit there and pretend like you're constipated and start making conversation with that guy and be like, hey, got any tips for me? This one's kind of lodged in there. And then you just start making conversation about what you had eaten. I once worked in this office. It was called, I think I can say, it was called Home Advisor. And we were up to some nutty sales calls activities. They had people all day telling you that everyone loved the product and the goodness that you were doing for the world, and cold calling contractors. I worked there exactly 1 year because it was the only real job I ever had. And when I got it, I said I'm going to be here 1 year. Never loved it. Didn't stick around past that. But we used to be in what should have been a nice building. We were actually in the old New York Times office in Times Square. And let me tell you, if there's a place in the world you don't want to work, it's Times Square. Times Square during commuter hours, getting in and out, it's not a pleasant activity. Anyways, it was a sales floor that had a bathroom that was made for like more high-end offices of like, I don't know, because basically sales floors, they gutted the entire office that I think would have been space for, I don't know, maybe 50 employees, and instead had 400 young kids chugging Red Bulls all day, people doing coke in the bathroom, eating unhealthy lunches, working on the floor. And the mob scene it was literally, you wouldn't believe the line to you had to. It was like a deli counter. You had to check into your stall. You had to get out. Satanic Muffin, welcome live to realize. Usually, we talk about the news. Now we're 20 minutes in with nothing but bathroom office habits, and this as there are assassination attempts on the president. The other president, he wasn't talking coherently, so they brought him to the office and discovered that he has COVID. And, just wait till they turn around and they go, guys, the dementia's the long COVID, but he's going to get over it. And we know that he had it before he had the COVID, but sometimes having COVID, it will accentuate it. And it's a long COVID dementia, which is a known symptom for everybody. And the reason why he's stuttering worse, it's just the long COVID. We can tell you past the election, he'll be fine again. If we can just get this through the election and we can wait for the new booster shot, which will, give him more antibodies, he'll be fine. It's just at the moment while he has COVID that he's going to continue to have the dementia that you guys saw even before he had the COVID. Anyways, welcome to the live chat. C-Step, if you want to send me an email at robsnewsroom@gmail.com. I say this a lot where I'm like, I invite guests on the show and then I have to actually coordinate time of when to start. And it's hard to predict when you're going to show up here and realize that you don't have cords and that kind of stuff. But theoretically, it'd be fun to have you on to talk about your diabolical shitting habits. And it would be particularly funny if we could Jerry Springer the moment and track down that other guy. I mean, talk about a Jerry Springer segment. The guy who purposely holds in his shit to ruin the day of the guy who doesn't like having to shit in the same bathroom as other people. And then bringing that guy on to confront his shit bully. Which you think he goes home every single day and he goes to the bar after work and he has to turn to the bartender and go, I couldn't take a dump at work again because for some reason this same guy always needs to go when I have to go. And he's like, I don't even understand why that guy needs to go at the same time as me. All right. E.R. Joe, any libertarian groupies at the porch tour? How's that porcupine puss? Not a lot. Edward Snowman, Coke in the bathroom. Isn't it hard enough to get the turds out before the lights turn off? It was a wild office. I did not partake, but, as much as they could say, like, comedians are party people, and they kind of are, let me tell you, aggressive salespeople are a different breed. Gimp Gladdy, I am a remodel contractor. We all know that Home Advisor, Heimwise, Angelus are a pay-to-play scams. I want to hear more about the shenanigans there. Maybe another time. Edward Snowman, frickin' porcelain pirate. Not bad. All right, let's get into the news. We do have things to discuss, and why not? I know everyone else has already talked about the Trump shenanigans, but I mean, I can't not address the miracle that we all witnessed. Like the Hanukkah story. Are we not going to be talking about this forever? I'm convinced that Donald Trump's such a good manifester that if he had actually been shot in the head, the whole world would go black. Is anyone else not convinced that Donald Trump is actually manifesting our reality? And perhaps every time he said, I'll get it done, I'll do it, I know how to do it, that if he just applied himself to things, it would happen? I mean, the luck of turning... By the way, people want to know why I'm so fidgety. It's this. I've actually been concerned about the CIA caring so much about what I have to say on live streams in between the diarrhea talk that the reason why... And that's why I'm actually so comfortable to be seated today, because we're learning just what the deep state will do to take out its enemies. And that's why, you usually see me, and I'm deaking and ducking. I'm pacing around. I'm moving backwards, forwards. I take one step back, two steps. You'd have to sit down and you'd have to try and memorize the Rob Bernstein shuffle of the directions in which I'm going. And it's because when you're giving speeches, you're talking on stages, you're doing your podcast, you want to make sure that you're safe. Speaking of which, I'm going to be keeping my distance from Dave on stage. Get us longer tables if we're doing live podcasts. Don't run for president again. They do not like the outsiders. All right, if I could have had a dream for how this would have played out, it's that Trump would not have died, but his wig would have came clean off. Wouldn't that have been fun if they had a thick bullet that just pulled his wig clean off? And then maybe that would have been the second iteration of Trump, like the way they tell the Jesus story. What just happened there? Hold on a second, everybody. This is... we're supposed to be in the image webcam? That's not the right thing. Hold on a second. Why did that go black? Jeez, come on, producer man. All right, everyone, you take a minute. You talk about yourselves. You can talk about your bathroom habits. You can talk about the people whose shits you're ruining at work. You can talk about the contractors that have scammed. Give me a second. I'm going to figure this one out. All right, guys, I'm going to take a second to leave the live stream and come back. I don't even know if I can do that. I'm not sure what to do here, everybody. You know what? We're going to go full screen on the presentation, and you guys will just have to believe that I'm actually sitting here and that it's not a robot talking, and that's the thrills of a live show. You know, I don't know. All right, whatever. It is what it is. Let's go. Let's change up our feed here for a second. All right, there you go. We're live on the presentation, and yeah, you guys can, just imagine I look even prettier than I do. And for all the people out there who are watching live, and just, imagine myself like 15% prettier. Any prettier than that, that'd be a problem. All right, okay, let's move on. So, are you guys seeing the most recent news on this? Because it kind of seems like people in the Secret Service were almost sitting there and going, why is this guy so not camouflaged? Why is this guy so out in the open? It's like they kept getting calls from the local cops and going, who the fuck did the FBI recruit to shoot the president? Are you allowed to say things like this on YouTube? Because we're not even going live on Twitter right now. What the hell, guys? You can catch me on my own personal platform soon enough. Props to Andrew, who's building it out, and we'll have that launch announcement soon. But for now, let's go back to what I was saying. The people from Secret Service were sitting there going, who did the FBI recruit? Did they not teach this kid anything about how to blend in with the rooftop that he's on top of? Did they not teach the kid anything about how to disguise himself? Or can he at least get this over a little bit quicker? How long are we supposed to ignore the cops for? Everyone can see him. You got people in the crowd. It's like it's a bird, it's a plane. No, it's the guy who has a gun who's trying to shoot the president. Hey, it's Secret Service snipers. Is there anybody here? Did you put anyone up in that giant tower that overlooks everything? Did you have a guard at one of these buildings to not let people just climb up to the roof? I mean, is it? Listen, I don't know that the Secret Service was in on this operation. For everyone, though, because I kind of enjoy this. I'm very lucky. I got this coffee shop down the street from me. And you got these two guys in there every morning who are a lot more liberal than I am. They're very cool guys, and they're actually smart people. And it's always fun when you get to talk to smart people who have the opposite perspective to just take the temperature of where, hardcore liberals are. And to them, they just see this as that the Secret Service is an incompetent institution. And if you believe that this is just the incompetence of the Secret Service, which it might be, what government organization are you ready to trust? I mean, if you would just think about all the tasks that government says that it can do well, setting the interest rate, regulating the environment, regulating carbon, fighting foreign wars. Just think about all the things that government claims that it can do at the highest level. And then think about the task of running security for the president. And, you would think you request you get your highest level soldiers, your people that graduate from the military. This is what all of us envisioned. They had people who had a lifetime of experience in the military. Maybe they don't have the legs anymore to be on the SEAL Team 6 anymore, but they've got all the skills. They've got all the military discipline. And so you plug them in. You've got all your drone technology. You've got all your tech. You would think that this task would be one of the actually easier ones for government to pull off, and that they'd have all the financial resources to get it done. I mean, if you think that it was just government incompetence that got the Secret Service is just not good at their job, why is it that you're willing to trust government in the other like, do you think that all the other branches of government are actually good and efficient? Like, just think about it. Us as libertarians, we go, government's less, let's have, government is dumb, let's have less of it. If I had to give my philosophy on liberty in a nutshell, it's I'm pro-freedom. Government's dumb, let's have less of it. But for the people that absolutely love the government, they love forced wealth redistribution, they want to see more government. How do you look at a president that has dementia or divisions like the Secret Service who so epically fail right in front of us and go, they got this? I'm sure the other divisions of government are working just great. I'm sure the ones that are recommending vaccines, wearing masks, staying home, and not living your life, I'm sure those guys are right. How can you just be a traditional, a democratic socialist right now who just thinks that government's the greatest thing in the world and what we need is more forced wealth redistribution because they're great at the job? I mean, how do you, fine, if you want to say that this wasn't an inside job and that the Secret Service in some capacity didn't seem to, I guess, what is this, reckless negligence? So if this is reckless negligence, do you think it's a government one-off of reckless negligence? All right, anyways, let's take a look at this article from the New York Post. Final image of would-be Trump assassin Thomas Matthew Crooks on cop radar nearly an hour before he launched his deadly attack. So aside from all the reports of people in the audience pointing up there going, hey, there's a guy in the gun, even the reports of the snipers having the guy but not having a stand-down order until the other guy fired, reports of the cops that they did their job and they were all on the same line, reporting this back, for some reason not having coverage in that tower, which every movie I've ever seen, you put a sniper up in the tower. Anyways, now you've got this article, New York Post, final image of would-be Trump assassin Thomas Matthew Crook on cops radar nearly an hour before he launched his deadly attack. There he is, and I guess someone called it in and went, nah, that little bitch on the ground, that's just a worm. I've seen that before. That's just a worm down there. Don't worry about the gun on his back. Sometimes worms carry guns. Here they had a picture of the guy crawling around. Cops reported it an hour earlier, and they were just like, yeah, we're good. I've been working on a joke about calling the cops and them doing nothing, and that you could look through incidents of American history, and that the cops didn't show up. And I guess this is another example. Right then and there, president, with a weird-looking dorky kid on the ground. They made the call a full hour earlier, and in a full hour, they weren't able to track this guy down, ask him some questions, take the gun away from him, not let him climb a roof. Here, let's read this article. It's from the New York Post. The final photo of would-be assassin Thomas Matthew Crooks shows the 20-year-old gunman crawling on the ground and seemingly scoping out a spot from which to shoot at former President Donald Trump nearly 1 hour before the attack. The image taken by a sniper around 5:30 p.m. Saturday was sent to law enforcement at Trump's Butler, PA rally to report the suspicious sighting, news station WXPI reported. Crooks can be seen in the photo sporting long brown hair and glasses while wearing a gray t-shirt representing the popular YouTube gun channel Demolition Ranch. That was with the outfit that they sent. That's where the FBI messed this up, is instead of giving him, rooftop camouflage gear, they were like, hey, can you wear this t-shirt so we can talk more about right-wing extremism? Can you make a single $10 donation and join this political party? Law enforcement sources told the station, for the record, that was me kidding. That's not actually the language of the article. Law enforcement sources told the station that an officer searched the grounds for Crooks at the point, but did not see him where the first picture was taken. Yeah, because he was crawling. Hey, guys, we came here 5 minutes later, and the person's not in the exact same spot anymore. So I guess problem solved. And now this is fun. You've got the lady who's in charge of... I just said that very big Bill Burr-esque. You've got the head of the CIA here, Secret Service, I'm sorry, and let's hear what she has to say.
Director of the United States Secret Service, Kimberly Cheeto, speaks exclusively with ABC News, taking responsibility for that stunning breakdown in security.
This is an event that should have never happened.
Who is most responsible for this happening?
What I would say is that the Secret Service is responsible for the protection of the former president.
So the buck stops with...
Director of the United States
I didn't mean to rewind that. I love that line. What I would say is that the Secret Service is most responsible. There's this way that they speak as matter of fact, but it's about that. You mean, so you? Who is most responsible? What I would say is that this department is the one. It's like a way of not answering the question, but being so factual. It sounds like, oh yeah, well they have a handle on it. They know that they're the department. So you're describing yourself. Let's continue.
Kimberly Cheeto speaks exclusively with ABC News, taking responsibility for that stunning breakdown in security.
I'm saying there's a persuasiveness of just going, yes, that's exactly what happened, without apologizing, without taking fault, and just going, yep, that's exactly what happened.
What I would say is that the Secret Service is responsible for the protection of the former president.
So the buck stops with you?
The buck stops with me. I am the director of the Secret Service. It was unacceptable.
Matter of factly, yeah, I'm the director of the Secret Service.
And it's something that shouldn't happen again.
Minutes after Trump took the stage Saturday in front of thousands of people, gunman Thomas Matthew Crooks wounding the former president and 3 others before a Secret Service counter-sniper took him out.
I'm being told that the shooter was actually identified as a potential person of suspicion. Units started responding to seek that.
A potential person of suspicion. Isn't that a pretty light way of clarifying it? Where do they go to school for this? This is the same way Fauci talks. It's the same way Mayorkas talks. I would not say that it's, what is it? He always reframes the language of it's not, the borders, what am I trying to say? It's not the border's a disaster. What does he always say about the border? They always try and say, would you say that it's a failure or whatever? He goes, I wouldn't say it's a failure, but it's a job of our agency to protect our border, and we take that job, the assignment seriously and the responsibility of it. It's like they all went to the same lying school where they're like, all right, you're going to be in this post now and you're going to have to get on TV every once in a while and you're going to have to lie. So just matter-of-factly use like an autistic thing where you just redefine the terms and over-explain it, but just very matter-of-factly.
Individual out. Unfortunately, with the rapid succession of how things unfolded, by the time that individual...
Rapid succession, the picture that was a full hour beforehand.
...was eventually located, they were on the rooftop and were able to fire off...
They were able to do it.
...at the former president.
ABC News now learning that heavily armed local police were actually stationed inside the building. The gunman climbed, but they missed him. Butler town officials confirming that after they became aware of the threat, a local police officer climbed up to the roof and confronted Crooks, but did not succeed in stopping him.
What was your reaction when you saw...
A cop actually climbed, looked at him, acknowledged that he was there, and then let him continue to stay there long enough to shoot at the president?
How the events unfold on Saturday?
Shock, and then concern, obviously, for the former president.
Investigators now trying to determine whether roof access had been properly locked down. The shooter climbing up seemingly unimpeded, about 400 feet from the stage, with a direct line of sight on the former president.
Should that roof have been secure, period?
That building in particular has a sloped roof.
Which, I mean, that's the best part about this. I mean, go find countless Secret Service photos of people on roofs, and the idea that this thing had too much of a slope that they could put their trained personnel, they couldn't put trained personnel on top of it or put trained personnel in locations where they'd be watching it. Sloped roofs are off limits. All right, and now I just kind of thought this one was funny. The second that this happened, I saw the picture of this lady grabbing Donald Trump and pulling him to the ground. And just to be a complete ass, I wrote, for anyone not sure how this happened, apparently they had a lady guarding him. Just being an ass. There was in no way did I think, hey, this was a failure because they hired too many women to guard the president. But then either, I mean, if you want to buy into the competence, you've got that lady who was running the show. And then this video emerged later, and watch this lady who's outside of Trump's vehicle and the way that she can't handle her own gun. See this lady right here? Someone pointed out on Twitter, she looks like Andy Milonakis, and she can't get the gun back into the holster, and she's like, I guess I'll just continue to hold it. I'll continue to hold it. Maybe I can get it back. Oh, look, I got it back in. Hey, we put the nation's best and brightest guarding the president. Or maybe that day they had to roll the fat women out so that they could have some cover for their incompetence story. All right. And now, before I talk about the current state of what's going on with the Biden campaign, why not take a moment to plug sheathunderwear.com. Use promo code RYM. You can get 20% off the greatest underwear that's ever graced the balls of man. And sure, you guys have all seen this footage of Ben Affleck with his just I can't even face. And you know why? It's because he doesn't have sheathunderwear.com. I bet Ben Affleck, he's a big dude. I bet he's got a long hog, and his problem is that it's flopping around. It's sticking to his legs. He's out in the summer heat wearing jeans with his wiener unprotected by sheath underwear. That's what you need. If you're coming out to Porch Store, you're going to be out there in the heat. It's never hot on Porch Store. I don't know why I'm underselling. Porch Store is always beautiful out there. It's always even weather. But, you are going to be involved in other summer activities where maybe it's hot. And you know what you're going to want? Sheathunderwear.com. Promo code RYM, 20% off the greatest underwear that's ever graced the balls of man. And I'm talking to some liberals, and it's my research team, which is the two guys at the coffee shop in the morning. And it seems to me that firstly, Donald Trump seems to have a miracle moment of the heavens coming down and having him turn his head at the right moment, him being smart enough to pop back up and go fight, milk it, and put a fake bandage over his ear the next day, all after Joe Biden seems to be so old and having dementia, unwilling to step down. I feel like every liberal just has Ben Affleck energy at this point of just, fuck, I guess this is what I'm dealing with. All right, I guess we lost. I guess this is my life now. All right, I'll keep going with this. I mean, if this is what we're gonna do, if this is what we're stuck with, this is every liberal right now who's still rooting for Joe Biden and just knows that it's over, and just has the shit. I guess we're seeing this one through to the end. All right, next up, I've got even CNN seemingly reporting in on the fact that this thing is over. And if you consider the fact that against Hillary, they seem to undersell Donald Trump traditionally in the polls, and they were trying the last two elections to say, hey, he doesn't have a chance whatsoever, which I think the psychology on that is that people want to be on the winning team. And so if you convince people that someone is winning for sure, they don't want to vote for the other guy and feel like a loser. But here you have even CNN reporting, hey, Joe, it's over. Maybe you want to pretend like you have COVID and finally get a replacement. Let's give it a listen.
Joe Biden won, and he won big. That was that, 306 to 232. But this is our current CNN projection of where we are now. And look at this. If Donald Trump won what we have here, dark red states, solid Republican. Light red states, leaning Republican. If he won just those right there, he would already have the path to 270. He would have 272 electoral votes. Look what is different. We have Wisconsin as a toss-up. We have Pennsylvania as a toss-up, two critical states for Joe Biden. Michigan right now, another critical state for Biden, leaning Republican. Georgia, a state Biden flipped, leaning Republican. Arizona, a toss-up state. That was a state Biden flipped. Nevada, a state he won, leaning Republican. This is the dire strait for Joe Biden right now on the first night of the Republican convention. Tomorrow is 16 weeks to Election Day. 16 weeks from tomorrow, we count the votes. It is tough to change a map like this in that amount of time. And here's why Democrats are so worried, why so many Democrats are saying, Mr. President, please reconsider and get out of this race. Because right now, Trump is leading here. And Trump is leading here, narrowly, but he's ahead in those states. Trump is leading here. That's 312 electoral votes.
I think you guys get the point. But hey, Biden's got COVID, so maybe this is the chance to actually upgrade, the replacement. Whoever they had playing Biden the last few months committed a little bit too hard to the role and lost their mind and got his dementia. And then here you have it. Biden tests positive for COVID-19. I don't know why they're even testing for COVID-19. I guess they need some sort of a cover story to go, hey, the last couple weeks he's been off because turns out, remember that COVID thing that everyone's got to be super afraid of unless you're young and healthy? Well, the old guy, he's got it, and it's not that he's just dealing with it because he's old. Because remember how afraid you guys were about it? So I guess they're going to try and sell that story. All right, what else we got? Nikki Haley endorsed Donald Trump at the Republican National Convention. This is interesting because as Donald Trump just seems to have this one in the tank, you think they're going to try another assassination attempt on him? You think they get two? You think they get two chances at that one? I feel like that's a one strike and you're out kind of operation. Their best bet now is to, try and poison a cheeseburger, shove it down his throat. All right, anyways. Before we talk about the Menendez thing, you know what? The thing I want to talk about the Jack Black thing, but I think I have it later in my notes. So let's talk about Menendez convicted of bribery, fraud, and extortion. Now, he's been a long-time senator, and let's see some of the things that he did. Finds Menendez guilty of taking bribes in cash and gold. They found all sorts of cash and gold in his house. And let's read a little bit from this. This is from the Wall Street Journal. Man, we got a crazy storm going out there. The senator was also accused of putting pressure on an Agriculture Department official to stop opposing a lucrative monopoly that Cairo had awarded one of the businessmen to handle the certifications of all halal meat exported from U.S. to Egypt. Now, in the terms of things that senators could, I guess pay for favors, get paid to extend a favor, which is largely government protection of your industry, doesn't that one sound kind of benign? Like, if you just think about the conflict of interest that you could potentially have working in government of giving favorable contracts to select players, perhaps working with pharmaceutical companies, perhaps working with the military-industrial complex, perhaps working with the Israel lobby. Just thinking of all the things that you could do to cut a deal. Like, think about, if you cut a favorable trade agreement with a country that favors just a specific industry, how much money that might be able to make that company, and then you start realizing how much money is on the table to be bribing these officials. And it's just kind of like, I'm surprised that they busted him for this. And in my head, because I'm always spinning, what can I say, more theatrical movies in my head, that he must have done something that they wanted him out. And so they're like, all right, we're going to bust you for this corruption. But just in terms of corruption, doesn't this just sound kind of benign? Like, it's just your typical, and if anything, it just exposes to me how easy it is for these guys to profit off of their power and engage in, basically deals, favoritism, protecting industries, threatening prosecutors. Like, there's so many little things that they can do that I guess are so profitable to large companies or even other countries. It makes me wonder how much bribing is actually going on with these people, because if it's kind of this easy, there's no way that he's the only guy in the Senate who's getting bribed. But let's continue. Williams said after the verdict that the case had always been about shocking levels of corruptions. This wasn't politics as usual. All right, jumping ahead to the other thing that I highlighted. On the witness stand, Ureb recounted sharing brandy with the senator during a late-night meeting in 2019 at Nadine Menendez's home to discuss revolving and I'm sorry, guys, I'm so far away from this computer. Like I said, I don't have my... All right, whatever. No more complaining. Revolving an investigation being handled by a New Jersey State Attorney General's office. Urib told jurors that when he needed papers to write down information about the probe, Menendez summoned Nadine, that his girlfriend, by ringing a bell, and I don't even know what that says. All right, whatever. And then the last one I just thought was funny, of Mendez talking about hoarding all the cash and the golds because you never know what happens to currencies. And it's like, dude, if that's your lie, can you explain to us why we're trusting our government and why you're representing the government? If you're really telling me that you learned a habit from your parents from Cuba, that money can just go to zero or be confiscated, and you're that nervous about that as a person working in the U.S. Senate, that either you should be working there and having more faith in the system, or you've got some inside scoop and you should be sharing it with the rest of us. So not a very persuasive lie. RBG syndrome, I'm not that interested in that. It's basically just talking about how Ruth Bader Ginsburg really liked her job, and so she stuck around too long, which is what allowed this from the New York Times, allowed the Supreme Court to become conservative. And basically, Biden's doing the same thing because he likes his little slice of power. All right, I wanted to talk about this. If you guys haven't already seen it, Kyle from Tenacious D got in trouble for making a joke about Trump being assassinated. Let's give this a watch.
Happy birthday, dear Kyle. Happy birthday to you. Make a wish, Canada. Don't miss Trump next time.
I don't get why we're going to pretend to be that upset about this. I really don't understand. Like, listen, he's not, I don't know. It's a joke. The audience laughs. And guess what? I think you're allowed to wish bad things happen to politicians if you don't like them. It's not my opinion. It's not what I hope for Trump. But like, I'll say it. I wish an anvil falls on Fauci's head. Don't push an anvil on Fauci's head. I wish that we lived in a world with cosmic justice like Looney Tunes, that if you had people that evil, anvils came down from the heavens and crushed them in the streets. Now, I wish that that would happen. I wish that that was the reality that we lived in. I'm not telling anyone to go do not go do anything towards Fauci. We need to live in a world where he can actually be prosecuted and, you know, common plebs can learn about the crimes that he imposed upon us, or people like me could be educated to the fact that he actually did nothing wrong and that he was working with the best information that we had at the time. And that's why, in my opinion, I feel like the best sorts of retribution would either be anvils coming down from heaven so that we knew who was evil, but God doesn't seem to want to work in the world that way, or an actual investigation into corruption. I think that that would be better. So I'm making it very clear. I wish like that's bad things would happen to him. I don't want any of you guys to do it, and I don't think anyone should do it. So I'm just saying, you know, to make a joke, if you hate Trump and you always hated Trump, and someone tries to assassinate the guy, and you're like, shit, it would have been better if he hit him, I think you're allowed to have that opinion. And I think specifically in the context of comedy or otherwise, you're allowed to say it. And then the fact that, like, your partner will go, I can't believe that was said, and now I can't work with that guy anymore. It wasn't that bad. I think it's crazy to pretend like this is the worst thing that was ever said. And listen, I'm going to come out in support of jokes at any point in time. I mean, I'll say I hope Biden steps on stage and his hip breaks. Why? I don't know. It'd be funny. Is that cool that an old guy has a broken hip? Not really. I mean, it's kind of sad. I think at this point, you know, he should go live out a more pleasant life and sniff kids while he still can. But it's crazy to me for people on the right, as we've dealt with all this censorship and other nonsense, to go, oh my God, an offensive thing was said, this person needs to be punished. That's the problem with the right and why we're all libertarians, is that the second they get a slice of power, they turn right back into church grandmas who want to police your behavior, tell you can't have your porn, tell you can't have your violent movies, you can't have your violent video games, you can't make your jokes about Jesus. They pretend like they're cool when they don't have power. When they don't have power, they'll sit back and go, oh, the censorship and the free speech. And then once they have the power, they're the same assholes complaining about this stuff. Can't we just have the higher values of free speech and just being cool and not pretending that things that were not that offensive or outrageously offensive that people need to be punished for? Do we really want to live in this world of tattletales? Oh, the guy said something mean, he needs to be punished. How come he's not being punished? I can't work with that guy anymore. He said something mean about a president that we've all been saying that we hate. Whatever. And the audience laughs. If the audience laughs at a bad joke, then in the context of the room you were in, it was a good joke. All right. Edward Snowman. I think some of the Tenacious D issue is that it happened in Australia, and they have pretty severe speech codes. So one of their politicians made a big fuss. They have deported people over the jab. That could be. I just think it's lame. I just, you know, I'm pro free speech. I'm pro comedy. And I guess even if it's people from with an alternative perspective, or even if it's something I don't agree with, like, hey, I don't like this political person, and I would have preferred violence towards them. Firstly, it's in the context of a joke, and screaming, oh my God, how dare you, is just fucking lame. This was, I guess we're a little bit out of order. These were pictures of where Menendez kept some of his stuff. And this looks like something I already read. Oh, this is about J.D. Vance. I'm tiring out over here. We can cover J.D. Vance in another episode. I don't really know that much about him, except I guess he got a real good Hollywood story out of, hey, if you work hard, I was a poor piece of shit, and you guys are poor pieces of shit, but we got to get rid of welfare and all the other stuff that we do to pretend to help poor people. It's kind of an old school Republican message. I guess he attacked Trump for long enough that he was able to, I guess capture the interests of people like Ron Howard to make these real sappy movies about the mom being a drug addict, but the strong grandma who's learned her lesson and the getting out there and working hard. And the point is, it's just all television, people. If you got a good enough backstory, they'll throw you up there. They'll make a movie out of you. They'll put you in a book. So, you could go figure out your own bullshit and how to sell it. I guess that's the message here. That's our episode. Thank you for hanging out with us. Sorry for the studio issues, but, I worked hard to get out an episode today. I feel like it was a good one. And hopefully we'll have some new chords for the next one. The camera won't kick out. It's live. It's live, and when we bring you the live stuff, you get to enjoy all the shenanigans. If we weren't live, we wouldn't have spent 10 minutes talking about that guy's ruining someone else's shits, which don't do that. If we can walk away with one message, it's don't ruin another man's shits. Having a good shit, sometimes that's all you get out of life. Sometimes you're pushing it in the way you're eating, and you're trying to dodge hemorrhoids. You're trying to dodge shit stains. There's a lot of life that we all have to deal with. And being able to shit in peace is such a simple luxury. And to work in an office and to take that away from another man. I mean, if there's one thing that we can see Step coming back in and saying he had it coming. All right, why did he have it coming? Before we call it an episode, you tell me what this person has done. What infraction is so horrible that you have committed to spending your work days every single day ruining this man's turds? I can't call it an episode until we know. You've captured my interest. Rarely do we break news on this show. More often than not, we're reporting on current news and the coverage that other people have put forward in front of us. But tonight, on the evening of the Republican National Convention, where you could be watching what people are actually saying, we've got C-Step telling us that there's another man in the world whose turds need to be ruined. I don't know why I find this so entertaining. Satanic Muffin is also intrigued by the story, and he wants to know, C-Step just saying he mean-mugged me? I think you need a little more to go on. Wade Mosher, effing Arabi, Gimp gladly, get a bidet and you'll learn to never shit at the office like a beast again. And Lunch Dough saying you're a stand-up guy, Robbie. Yes, I'm gonna take the side of the employee whose turds you're ruining and saying let the guy shit in peace. You know what? Tomorrow when he's on the stall, bring a cake and hand it to him while he's on the stall as a shit peace offering, and say, may this travel through your systems in peace. May it come out as one solid thing. And I apologize for ruining so many of your office turds. That's it. The episode's over. We're in nonsense territory. Porchstore.com. Come hang out. We've got shows.